Kuphi nakuphi emakhaya amadolobheni aseComplasta khona lapho kubukela khona SABC 1 silethela-ke leli hlelo Yilungelo Lakho kumahamba embili SABC 1 Mzansi for sure. Mina ke bekunene ngingiSimphiwe Ngcongwane samakhulu-ke kuhlanganyela nathi. The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed the extent to which workers' rights are abused by uncompliant employers in South Africa. Njoba ke sichuba inyanga yemalungelo ebathengi iWorkers Month. Size-ke asesidzingise-ke le ndzaba yanamhla singachitsi isikhathi singene-ke shwi endzabeni yethu namhla.
The boss didn't give me my UIF papers. It didn't give me my Provident Fund papers. I've been waiting for it ever since the 18th of March.
I don't think we've got a reason to celebrate Workers' Month, honestly. There is no reason. From where I am standing, our workers' rights have been infringed left, right and center.
We don't even know what is happening here. No one is communicating to us and we are struggling. I'm staying on the property. Now they had to cut the electricity to sabotage us to leave the premises. But they haven't paid us. They owe us big time.
It was not voluntary. Most of the people were pushed out because they will call you one by one and say, here's your envelope, check how much you can get if you go now. And they were targeting us who were on the strike.
Our children are starving. Sihluleka nokuthenga ama-sanitizer. You tell us to sanitize. We can't. Mangifika shop ngibheka i-sanitizer ngibheka i-5. I'm not going to buy a bottle of sanitizer. I need bread for my kids.
All we care about is our money. As simple as that. If they pay, give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar.
Well, with all of South Africa's progressive labour laws meant to advance the rights of workers, many employees still themselves, do dire straits with no unemployment insurance fund, deprived of benefits, and others laid off without legal process. These are just some of the many abuses that workers still face in the workplace. And the extent of these violations have been amplified by the strain imposed by the COVID-19 on the economy. So today, as we celebrate Workers' Month, we shine the spotlight on the plight of workers.
I need money. I need my Provident Fund so that I can survive.
You're going to wait for another 10 years for UIF to pay you in any case. So I don't know why you're complaining about money.
Esiyisimo semihla ngemihla esithwelwe ngabasebenzi abaninzi beli abaqeshi abasoloko bevathinja rhoqo xa benxibelelana nabasebenzi babo. Isono salokabaloyi ibikukufuna ukuqonda kumphathi wakhe ngamaxwebhu wakhe ekufanele etsale ngawo imali yakhe ye-UIF kunye ne-Provident Fund njengoko selephelelwe sisivumelwano sengqesho.
I need that money to survive. I need that money to have transport to school. I need that money to buy food and pay rent.
But I think you also need to sympathize with him. He doesn't have a job and he needs his money.
That's his own fault. He must go and get a job, okay? So he must stop thinking about quick money. He must get a job. Like all of us must work for money.
Ukuba athi efuna imali yakhe ayisebenzeleyo ubaloyi axelelwe ngumqeshi ukuba akanaxesha lalonto makahamba uyofuna umsebenzi. Luhlobo lwempatho uninzi lwabasebenzi beli abaphila phansi kwayo. Lo mqeshi kubonakala ngathi khanga zihluphe kwa ukuzihlupha ukuhlawula iProvident Fund kaCornelius.
I went to the Provident Fund and went to check it for myself, but when I checked there, it's not there. The company does not appear on the Provident Fund.
Ingathi lo mqeshi ebekwazenzela nakwimali yepeyi yabaqeshi bakhe ehlohle sakhe isisu.
He would just come to you and then tell you things that you've never done just to deduct your money.
Okabaloyi ungomnye wabasebenzi abangaphaya kwezigidi ezintandathu esebephulukene nemisebenzi kweli oko lo bhubhane we-COVID uqalile ngokwengxelo ze-Statistics South Africa. uninzi lwabo banethamsanqa lokugcina imisebenzi yabo kunyanzeleke ukuba behliselwe imivuzo ngexa abanye betsalelwa i-UIF ne-Provident Fund ezingadluliselwayo kwakwisebe labasebenzi ngabaqeshi abanobuqhetseba. Kwesi sikolo sise-Bedfordview kwimpuma yerhawuti abasebenzi bashiywe ebuxwayibeni ngabaqeshi bengahlawulelwanga imali zabo emveni kokuba abaqeshi bevele baphela emehlweni. Kungoku nje kunzima nokufumana ukuya phantsi kwempumlo kwaba basebenzi emva kweminyaka engama-20 uThandeka Mzizi esebenza apha.
Inkinga esinayo yinkinga eyokuthi amalungelo wethu ezabasebenzi were infringed. Isikolo sivalwe nge-10 zakaJune with immediate effect, and then kwaba yilogo asinikezwanga ama-severance packages, asinikezwanga lutho. Amanye ama-documents anikeziwe for abantu ukuthi baclaim ama-UIF were not accurate.
Abanye abakaxhamli nakwezo bhiliyoni zeerandi ekuthiwa zibekelwe bucala ukunceda abo bathwaxwe sesisimo se-COVID noqoqosho oluqhwalilayo. Ezo mali baziva nje ngembali.
Since the closure of the school, I've never gotten a cent from, not even UIF. All the documents that I have for UIF, if I try to apply whether online or if I go to the offices there, they are all rejected. And I got that from the HR.
Kukhwinisa kwa ezo payslips bazifumanayo.
We are suffering because we last received our salary end of May, which I can't say is a salary, it was a test payment. Then we go on June, nge-10 June mabevala isikolo basinikeza all those documents abawashiya la egate kuma security. Inside those envelope it's got a payslip yango June, July, I think in August, a state ukuthi uthole this much money, but that money was never paid to us.
Kungoku nje ababasebenzi bashiyeke nemibuzo emininzi kuneempendulo. Ezo mpendulo bebekholelwa ukuba ziya kuphendulwa yicawe nabathi yiyo elawula esi sikolo. Kodwa icawe iphendule ngelithi ayibandakanyeki kulomba kuba ayiyo eqeshe ababasebenzi.
We're just asking for the law to intervene at this point and to find out where the liquidation process is and which master of the court are we waiting for as our children are starving.
Umzantsi Afrika uzingca ngemithetho eluqilima ekhusela bonke abasebenzi beli kwanamaziko asekelwe ukuqinisekisa ukulandelwa kwale mithetho. Umbuzo ke uthi kusilela phi? Kwilungelo lakho ndinguPhapha Matshangana Dube.
Awusibonge ke lo mbiko ke lesondela kwindzase wethu ke lapha Phapha Matshangana Dube. Manje ukhuluma kabanti ke ngemalungelo ebasebenzi. Asamukele ke ku Skype Thembinkosi Mkhaliphi lobuya ke emnyango webasebenzi Department of Labour. Siphinde sibe nampumelelo ngqongqo lovela ke CCMA. Siphinde sibe na Trevor Shaku lomele ke umbutho webasebenzi iSAFTU. Gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the show. Sanibongela.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you.
Okay, indeed. Now, Trevor, for purposes of understanding the gist of Workers' Month, in the context of embracing workers' rights, yini bumqoka ke be Workers' Month?
The Workers' Month basically arose out of the fact that the workers had to conduct a strike to fight for better working conditions, to fight for better wages, and to shorten the working time, because from the first industrial revolution, where the first proletariat emerged, we saw the exploitation of workers in a sense that they could even work from 12 up to 16 hours. So the Workers' Month or Workers' Day emerged out of the recognition of the struggles conducted by the working class of the world to fight for better conditions. But most importantly, the fact that the capitalist system and its contradictions exist today, we are going to still see the importance of struggles of workers, and as a result, would have to observe for as long as capitalism exists, the exploitation of workers will exist. And as a result, those struggles, which are conducted by workers year on year, will have to be continued.
All right, Mpumelelo, let me also bring you into this conversation. Simvile ke Trevor lapha ukhuluma ke exploitation yemalungelo ke eti-70, and this has been an ongoing conversation for decades, and we'll never tire talking about this and the workers' rights and the exploitation of such workers' rights. So, what is the role of the CCMA insofar as in ensuring that employers abide by all the labor laws in South Africa?
Okay. Thank you. Another man, Tetis Xhosa and Tetis Ngesi.
Tetis Xhosa baba,
I'll mix it up.
Tetis Xhosa baba.
Tetis Xhosa. Okay. Tina as a CCMA, let me speak English. We formed here to deal with labor-related issues pertaining to a variety of issues like unfair dismissals, unfair labor practices, severance pay disputes, and now the amended scope of dealing with claims in as far as Section 73A. I heard in the video that some workers are complaining that there's monies due to them, but not necessarily being paid to them. That is our role as the CCMA. We deal with those disputes, but then also we have a dual function with the Department of Employment and Labor, where we deal with claims where workers are indicating that monies are due to us, we've worked, we can prove, but the employer has not paid. They can then come to the CCMA in terms of Section 73A if those workers are earning below the threshold, which is dictated by the Basic Conditions of Employment Act.
So from your understanding and observation of the situation with regards to workers' rights and the exploitation of workers' rights here in South Africa, now, are they impressed with the level of efficiency in carrying out some of the mandate of the CCMA?
Okay. When we talk about the mandate of the CCMA, our mandate is restricted to certain pieces of legislation. I think the problem here, if I listened to the video correctly, is when COVID-19, the pandemic hit us, what you found is that we have between 3 to 5 million workers falling within the so-called informal sectors. Mm-hmm. Now, when we talk about employers forming within the informal sector, that then goes hand in hand with what we call social protection. Social protection is what was protecting those employees who fell within the formal work. In that, when I say formal work, I'm talking about employees who are employed by employers who have done the right thing of registering those employees in terms of the Employment and Insurance Fund and Employment and Insurance Act, whereby when the pandemic hit and we were hit with the national lockdown and workers had to be laid off as a consequence of what Hulumende had imposed. What then happened is that those employees then were able to claim a percentage of what they were working from TERS. But okay. what you found is that you found employees who fell within the informal sector, and then when the national lockdown hit, those employees had little to no social protection because they were not registered sufficiently, and consequently then they were not able to then claim those social protection. Okay. When it comes to us as the CCMA, whether or not the person falls within the informal sector or the formal sector, where a dispute arises between an employer and an employee in the normal course of events, which the CCMA has jurisdiction to deal with, those cases we are able to deal with. Okay. We will be able to deal with those cases.
Okay, asishiye lapho ke Mpumelelo, we'll certainly touch base with you in a moment, so please stay on the line. Baba Mkhaliphi ke ngiyathemba boyilalela ke inkulumo yethu na Mpumelelo lapha uthinze ikakhulukati tindzaba the policy with the labor policies that are in place under the Department of Labor. Kuthi asosichazele kabanti kuthi ke yini umsebenzi we Department of Labor insofar as ensuring ukuthi emalungelo eti-70 hulumende ke uyawa embrace, so to speak.
Ukusuka ngo-1994 njengoba ukuthi imithetho emininzi eyathi yaqaliswa apha eMzantsi Afrika, i-Labour Relations Act ekhusela abasebenzi, i-Basic Condition of Employment Act neminye imithetho yabekwayo ekhushula abasebenzi. Ukuba ngaba ujonga imeko abasebenzi abasebenza phansi kwazo phambi ko-1994 neemeko abasebenzi abasebenza kuzo ngoku, umahluko omkhulu lowo. Andithi izinto zihamba ngendlela ekufuneka zihambe ngayo, mhlawumbe zikhona indawo apho singahambi khona, kodwa ngokomthetho nje umthetho uyabakhusela abasebenzi. Umthetho amalungelo abasebenzi akumgaqo-siseko kweli lizwe. Manintsi amazwe akudala akhulelekayo anganawo amalungelo esemthethweni njengabasebenzi balapha eMzantsi Afrika. Amanintsi amazwe apha eAfrika nakwilizwe liphela apho abanye abasebenzi bengenawo amalungelo sinawo ke. Thina njengorhulumente sibona njengokuba lukhulu olwenziweyo ngurhulumente ukusuka ngela xesha ka-1994. Into ebalulekileyo yokuba ukuba ngaba abasebenzi abanyanzelisi ukuthi la malungelo wabo mabachaphazeleke kubo, funeka abasebenzi beze ngaphambili. Uba ngaba umsebenzi akarholelwanga uphangela, akabhatalwa imali yakhe impela kwiveki okanye impela kwenyanga, funeka eze ngaphambili. Uba ngaba umsebenzi ugxothiwe ngendlela engalunganga, funeka eyile ku-CCMA. Kunzima ke into yoba sithumele i-inspector okanye u-CCMA kuzo zonke iimboni uyojonga into yoba hayi abantu baphethe kakuhle na. Silindele into yoba abasebenzi beze ngaphambili, bangathethi nje kwinantsika koonomathotholo nakwiireyido nakoomabona kude, beza ngaphambili bazibeke izikhalazo. Njengoba benditshilo umsasazi ukuthi andithi umnyango zabasebenzi usebenza ngale ndlela kufuneka sibe sikhona iindawo apho sisilela khona ekuenforceni, kunyanzelisa imithetho, kodwa imithetho yona ikhona.
Okay, asishiye lapho baba, sitawuchubeka futhi emva kwaleli khefu. Kwanyalo ke bekunene asesithi shavu ngasetitolo sitawuphinde sibuye khona manje nje kungasekudala. Namhla ke njoba nawuceda ukujoyina nje sikhuluma ngamalungelo ebantfu, njoba ke kuyi-Workers Month siyachubeka nale conversation yethu yekuthi ke the exploitation of workers' rights and as well as embracing of workers' rights by employers. Leli lungelo lakho asisishavu ngasetitolo. Today we're talking about workers' rights. Same nyaka ke le 2027 sikhulekile kutiwe ke nemithetfo levikela bonke ke bathengi eNingizimu Afrika. Ingabe le mithetfo lezivikela ko isivikela ngalokwanele yini? Sishayele kucingo ku 0117145958 noma ke 0117146778 kuvakelisa ke imbono yakho. Ungasithumela futhi na-email ku consumer@sabc.co.za. Sina Mr. Mkhaliphi ke uvela ke eDepartment ye Labor, siphinde sibe na Mpumelelo Ngqongqo uvela ke CCMA kanye na Trevor Shaku lumelele ke umbutho weTheSebenzi i-South African Federation of Trade Unions. Before I get back to you Trevor, nawe ke Mpumelelo, angibuyele ke kuwe baba Mkhaliphi ukuthi usichazele kabanti ngoba nguve ngaphambili lapha uthi kunetinto letingahambi kahle ke etikweni leTelabor ukuthi ngabe yini leto tinto lethu nekuthi ke hulumende yini kakwendako kusolva leto tinkinga leto.
Njengoba ngitshilo umsasasebenzi wami ukuthi ngokwahulumende imithetho ukusuka ngo-1994 eyathi yanyanzeliswa ngurhulumente, umthetho we-Labour Relation okhusela abasebenzi into yoba bangaphathwa ngendlela engeyiyo emisebenzini, bangagxothwa ngendlela engeyiyo, ukuba ngaba kwenzekile koko baye khona e-CCMA bafaka isikhalazo khona. I-Basic Conditions of Employment Act ethi ilawule indlela abasebenzi abaphangela ngayo, indlela abasebenzi iiyure kufuneka beziphangele, ukuthi ukuba ii-holidays zabo zihamba kanjani, izinto ze-sick leave. Ndizama ukuthi ke ibalulekileyo into yokuba abasebenzi funeke bawasebenzise la malungelo abo, ukuba ngaba abawafumani beze ngaphambili bafake izikhalazo ku-CCMA, bafake izikhalazo emnyangweni wezabasebenzi. Ndisitsho ndithi ewe mhlambe zikhona indawo apho umnyango wezabasebenzi ungahambi kakuhle kufuneke sizamile ukusisombulula, kodwa ekubalulekileyo into yokokuba ibe ngabo abasebenzi abaza ngaphambili batsho kule mboni sikuyo thina, hayi kwenzeka ngolu hlobo, sibachazele ii-inspector ziye ziyojonga into yoba kuqhubeka ntoni na.
Kunenge lesingakhuluma Mkhaliphi lapha ngenzaba yemalungelo etisebenzi kungaze kushone ilanga sikhuluma futhi ke kunenge futhi ke netisebenzi letikhala ngako ekutheni some of the gender representation at decision making structures is still low, gender representation and as well as racial groups in management position is still low. Kuthi ke uhulumende uyakubuka lokho, ubuka ngamaphi emehlo?
Njengoba sitshilo unyanisile ukuthi i-gender representation and racial representation kwinansika kwi-senior management positions ekhampani zalapha ekhaya ayiyo lento kufuneka kubeyiyo. Yiyo loo nto uminister ethe wenza isiphakamiso sokuba umthetho we-Employment Equity Act lo uhambisana noma kulingane mawutshintshwe ibe nguminister ozawuthi anyanzelise ukuba i-targets ezenziwa zinkampani mazihambe kanjani na mazithini ibe nguyogqibayo. Njengoba usazi ukuthi uqala kwalomthetho yayekela kubaqashi into yoba mabe ngabo abatshoyo ukuthi kuzahamba kanjani na. Siyavuma sithi hayi inatsika utshintsho luhambe kancinci kakhulu. Yiyo loo nto ke uminister ke epalamente umthetho ubekile uba uzawuthatha amalungelo ukuba ibe nguye oseta ezi targets zokunyanzelisa into yoba abantu abangoomama nabantu abangekho mhlophe nabo babe khona kwezi ndawo zabantu abaphakamileyo emisebenzini.
Okay, now Trevor, as a representative of the South African Federation of Trade Unions, have the unions, sort of achieved any real gains for workers through effective collective bargaining over the past decade?
Yes, workers and the unions in the various sectors have actually achieved a number of gains for their workers, and especially those in our federation have also registered a number of gains which we currently have seen improving some, and in some instances, the living standards of our workers. However, the problem has been that at the same time, when we are making the very gains, there has been attacks on workers' unions, but also the laws that governs labor relations, especially those which are seen to have been giving, because this has been repeated a number of times by neoclassical and liberal politicians in this country, that unions have disproportionate powers, and as a result, there has been a concerted means and effort to try to curtail the rights of workers. And we've seen with the attacks on the rights to strike and the amendment bills which were passed in 2018, but most importantly, at the current moment, we are standing with the public sector, which is failing, or has failed to implement the last leg of the multi-term agreement of 2018 on wage increments, but most importantly, is also refusing to increase the wages of workers in that particular sector for the next coming 3 years until 2024. And as a result, it proposes a further freeze, or what they call a CPI minus, which in effect is not any real, or not have any real impact on the wages of workers, because the buying power of the wages, despite a CPI minus increase, the real wages would be actually minimized in essence. So there has been indeed, but this speaks to, my brother, what we can accord to as we can refer to as the economic regime. You see, any economic regime, and especially the vicious neoliberal capitalism, which we have, requires a labor regime that correlates or corresponds with it. And a neoliberal capitalist regime requires labor regime that, for instance, can be disposable easily. And that is the reason why they've been in trying to restructure the companies, the state entities, and even institutions. They've tried by all means to make labor precarious in a sense that it will not be able to be organizable. But most importantly, the labor regime that the current economic regime requires is the kind of a regime which not only is disposable, but can be paid very low wages. And in this instance, you've seen in a number of industries, there are suppression of wages and the negotiations which are going on. the entire public sector in various instances has actually proposed CPI minuses, but we see that there is a demand for increases in the mining industry, and the companies and the chamber in that side has also proposed lower wages. But in this instance, what we are
Trevor, I see you trying to diagnose some of the big problems that are experienced in the labor market, and you earlier on you touched on the gains. I want to know from you in a little bit in greater detail what those gains are, because we keep on seeing the workers' rights being continually violated in South Africa. Please hold your thoughts. We'll touch base with that conversation in just a moment. Please don't go away, and please do call us on 0117145958. Number is 0117146778. And please do share your experiences with us at the hands of unscrupulous workers, or rather employers. Yilungelo Lakho, we'll be right back. Don't go away. Welcome back. Tincingo tethu ke tivuliwe ukuthi nawe ungaba ingcenye ngale nkulumo yethu. Sishayele licingo ke ku 0117145958 noma ke 0117146778. You can also email your thoughts to consumer@sabc.co.za, or alternatively interact with us on our Facebook page, Yilungelo Lakho. Now, Trevor, just before we went to that ad break, you went to town talking about some of the gains that the unions have achieved insofar as ensuring that employers abide by, the labor laws and embracing workers' rights. What are some of these gains? Because we see there is still the income and inequality gaps still exist in South Africa, and the abuse of temporary workers, especially what you call freelancers, contract workers, and casual workers, and those workers through the labor broking arrangement.
Thanks. For instance, the first instance one can think of is the successful fighting which took place through the outsourcing must fall, which so many of the workers in this country, especially the public sector, in the universities mostly, and other municipalities, being able to be insourced. And this is because of the fighting capacity of the organizations which were leading there, some of whom were unions. But most importantly, referring to the outcome of the court, which in a case which involved NUMSA and a company which had dismissed workers in 2013, and just this yesterday, the court ruled in favor of NUMSA for the reinstatement of those workers with a full payment equivalent to the 4 years. And these have been some of the things, but most importantly, you also would note that Clover was pressured by Giusa last year to be able to increase wages, but also to halt retrenchments and to get rid of any form of labor broking at the company. So these are some of the gains which one can mention. And and it's true again what you are saying, because the period we are passing through, the economic regime which is currently in control, is looking at every possible way, first and foremost, to attack the rights of workers. And it is succeeding, and it has succeeded actually, because FEDUSA, NACTU, and COSATU, together with business and government, agreed to curtail the workers' rights in the Labour Bills Amendment of 2018. So there has been a concerted effort throughout the period on the part of business, but also now we see with government colluding with them. But of course, we are surprised by the fact that unions, even some federations, are involved in that particular attack on workers' rights. And this is what I was referring to. Okay. And it is, yeah.
Okay. Now, Mpumelelo, asasikhuluma ke ngema incidences of abuse that CCMA has had to deal with when it comes to unfair dismissals.
Okay, no, thank you. The issue here is we need to listen to both speakers in as far as the issues pertaining to abuse or issues pertaining to abuse of employers. Is that we as a CCMA, we deal with cases that are presented to us by workers. Tatum Kalipi was 100% correct bethetha inyani besithi itopic apha ithetha nge-workers' rights. I-workers' rights can only be protected and can only be determined if abasebenzi bayazazi or bayawazi amalungelo awo, bayayazi into yoba if kwenzeke into ethile funeke ndiye endaweni ethile. You understand? Nezinto azithethayo uTrevor unyanisile, ikhona umthetho othetha nge-labor broker or dealing with labor brokerage issues in terms of section 198 to 198D. Bona kuTrevor into emnandi ngabo is that baye-union bayayazi le mithetho. Bakhona abasebenzi abazibhaqa kwezi meko bakuzo ngoku bahlale banyamezele kuba bengayazi into yoba amalungelo abo maphi njani, and if mna ndisebenza ndimane ndiqhubekeka ndimane ndirenew i-contract andina-contract ndinalo ilungelo lothatha loo case yam ndizise e-CCMA. Apha kuthethwa nge-lay off. Abasebenzi bayayazi into yoba zimbini i-lay off. Kukho i-lay off le yenziwa ngumqashi, bekho i-lay off le biyenziwe ngurhulumente. La lay off biyenziwe ngurhulumente ayisekho ngoku. So if umqashi ulewe off ngoku unawo amalungelo malunga ne-lay off, because i-lay off ithi into yoba umqashi akakwazi uleya off umqeshi without isigqibo between yena nomqeshi wakhe. So if akho sigqibo lo mqeshi lowo unelungelo lokuya phi e-Department of Employment and Labour or aze e-CCMA if yena uye wayophangela akabhatala.
Okay.
So ezi zinto zithethwa ifana nale nto ye-provident fund. Indaba ye-provident fund kukunto ekuthiwa yi-provident fund adjudicate. E-CCMA abantu bayaza bakhalaze nge-provident fund ube uyibona i-payslip yomntu uba ithi udala nditsalela i-provident fund andiyazi ibhatala phi nayo. Into ebalulekileyo phaa is umntu ayazi into yoba ngeyiphi le provident fund kuthethwa ngayo le umna ndibhaliswe kuyo. Once ayazi ngeyiphi le provident fund abhaliswe kuyo, ikhona into ekuthiwa yi-provident fund adjudicator edilisha nezo zinto ezo. Ifana nabo bantu bebethetha apha
asishiye lapho ke Mpumelelo. Yeah, please hold your thoughts. We'll certainly touch base with you in a moment because we need to take our first caller. Sina Anonymous lapha ke Pine Town. Sakumoyo lehlele sawubona.
Molweni bhuti.
Saphela kunjani mama?
Ndiyaphila enkosi bhuti.
Khuluma nathi mama.
Webhuti mina i-company yam isuka e-Eastern Cape and then ndiyi-controller mna kwi-security.
Okay.
And then isimuvele apha ePine Town.
Okay.
As uba izawuzama ukuba ibe ne-sites ngapha, but ii-sites zethu sese-Eastern Cape sisacontroller i-Eastern Cape.
Yini ke inkinga lodibana nayo mama?
I-problem endadibana nayo first time ndifika mna apha emsebenzini ndingaze ndithi mhlambe i-bullyism ne-discrimination and I'm not the manager's favorite. Up until now ndade namhlanje I went to Department of Labour ePine Town ndibhalile izikhalazo zami.
Okay.
And then ilate endibene nalo phalithi alinokwazi ukunceda mandidibane ne-bargaining counselor ezokwazi ukuncedisana nam because i-security companies azisakwazi uba uLabour adile nazo ngoku.
Okay, so na-CCMA now awukakhoni ukuhlangana naye?
Andikaye into ebendiyela namhlanje ibi-advice based to into endizibhale phantsi ukuba ndingancedeka njani felele ndivule hlobo luni lwecase kule meko endiphantsi kwayo.
Okay, so in short, Maganavia at Department of Labour, then bakutshela ukuthi they can't help you and they referred you to the bargaining council.
Yes, and then I had to come back endlini because andingenayo imali yokuya eDurban kwi-bargaining council. Andiyazi futhi noba yenzeka kanjani yona.
Okay. Anonymous siyabonga kakhulu ke usishayela icingo ngenhlanhla lenhle ke sinaye ke lo vela e-Department of Labour kanye ke ne-CCMA batakusita ke kulolu hlangothi, so siyacela ukuthi uchubeke ubukele ilungelo lakho. Mbukeli, let's now take a pause for now and stawuphinde sibuyele ke emva kwaleli khefu leli lungelo lakho. Asiphinde sinabukele ke bantu abakethu ke sishayele licingo ke ku-0117145958 noma ke 0117146778. These are our participation lines. They are on your screens right now. Kuze kuthi ke ukhona ukubhala ushayele licingo futhi uvakalise umbono wakho. You can also email your thoughts and your views to consumer@sabc.co.za or catch us on our social media platforms. Now Mpumelelo, before you can share your advice to Anonymous, ochazile ngaphambilini ukuthi ke yini tisebenzile ngakwenda kuze kuthi ke tinkinga tabo ticatululeke. So from all the cases that you've received as CCMA, and siyabona vele ukuthi there's a continuation of the trend of unfair dismissal ngoba phela njoba nje i-COVID-19 isibonisa shaka yasibonisa info lemnyama. There's so many layoffs that have been taking place and illegal layoffs as it were. Kuthi nina njengoba ni-CCMA nikhonile nekuhlaba umkhosi kuhulumende ukuthi hey hulumende inyanza leyo nathi ke tinkampani tenda tiphula umthetho, sicela ukuthi nimane niuqinise lo mthetho wetisebenti lokwenta sure ukuthi ke tisebenti ke tiyavikeleka kuloko.
Hello, umanu qhawe kapha Simphiwe kanti ukuve kahle but zawuzama uphendule lokho.
Okay, so in short niuhlabile umkhosi kuhulumende. Like, did you raise an SOS to the government to please strengthen the labor laws, because siyabona vele ukuthi there's a continuation of the violations of the workers' rights?
Yes, umthetho when odibene ne-layoffs umile uyiyo ingxaki edibene ne-layoff denze imizekelo yabini apha. Le yokuqala yakahulumente ayisekho ngoku, sijonge le into ye-layoff yama ngolu hlobo. If umqashi wakho okufake kwi-layoff nibe nina ningakhange nigqibe into yokuba umnike ilungelo lokuba makakufake i-layoff, umthetho uthi wena as the employee, for as long as wena uprovider umsebenzi wakho ingumqeshi othi without an agreement intoba wena suphangela, amalungelo akho athi ke ngoku umqeshi yena funeke ekubhatele for ela xesha athi yena hlala phantsi without ukusebenza wena ungamnikanga ilungelo. Yeah. So umthetho uthi ke ngoku in terms of section 73A wena mqeshi unelungelo lokuthini lohamba uye e-Department of Employment and Labour uthi dile mna ndayophangela nge-1st ka May, umqeshi wathi hayi mandohlala phansi, akandinika isizathu soba mandihlale phansi. Xa ndimbuza into yoba undigxothile wathi ke yena hayi andikugxothanga, mina ndikubize xa umsebenzi ephinde wakhona. Ilungelo lakho yona as umsebenzi ke ngoku is uphakama uthi so wena undigxothanga kodwa awufuni ndisebenze. So umthetho okhoyo ngoku uthi funeka undibhatale if imeko ilolo hlobo. So into ezayenza ndizawuhamba ndiye e-CCMA ndihambe ndiyoclaima for eli xesha eli wena uthi mandihlale endlini ndingasebenzi, because andihlelanga endlini ngenxa yam, ndihleli endlini ngenxa yakho. Ube wena usithi awundigxothanga ndisakusebenzela but awunamsebenzi for imna, and akho sigqibo esisigqibileyo into yoba mna ndifuna uhlala endlini for ixesha lingakanani na. On the employer's side, if employer yona iyabona into yoba imeko for lack of a better term iyamekuza, umqashi obhatala i-UIF or contributed to i-UIF, ikhona i-clause kwi-UIF ethi xa kunjalo maka-approache i-Department of Employment and Labour achaze nje yoba imeko yam inje, ndifuna ufaka abasebenzi kwi-short time or kwi-layoff kuba becontributor towards i-UIF. Bendiyawucela for eli thuba eli kusenzinyana ndibafake apha baclaime i-UIF behleli endlini for elo xesha, atike the code ekhoyo phayana kwi-UI 19 and then kustipulate i-period. So i-issue ibuyela back to laa nto beyithetha utata uMkhaliphi is that imithetho mikhona yona. Qha ingxaki esiyifumanayo is that you find employees are unaware, the employers are also unaware of their rights, And with that being said, then these things that sometimes do not come to our attention then take place behind closed doors.
Yeah, and the
But the
violation
protection
of
as-
workers' rights continue. Please hold your thought. We need to take another caller. Sina Steven ulapha ke Sebokeng sakumole hleleni sabona.
Lekai tata.
Sipilele kunjani baba?
Tempa.
Khuluma nathi baba.
Papa nale problem elsona ne. Ne kusebenza company yang ko free enough empower vile ne. So company mo renda pilo serisa utani le baqashi ne. So ba enda pa okay ban dismissa. So ha se ke be benin cancel lo claim a cheltaka bari company ay contribute.
Okay.
So patinente didacta. So okay benin cancel ar ke kise di pay slip ke kali di pay slip. So anti manager agnari na di pay slip di sala HR ha se ke le organizer ka numsa HR a sa tla pay slip. No tire ki dismiss ka 2013. Till now it's totally next.
Okay. All right. Steven, siyabonga kakhulu ukushayela. Sina babeke Mamkhaliphi from the Department of Labor kanye ke na Mpumelelo from the CCMA batakusita kulelo hlangothi. Mbukela sesithathe likhefu lefu lekugcina siyabuye khona nyalo. Please do stay with us. Leli Yilungelo Lakho. Welcome to a very final segment. Saqhubeka futhi nenzaba yethu namhla ke sikhuluma ke ngemalungelo etisebenzi njengoba sichubeka ne-Workers Month inyanga ke yetisebenzi. Now baba Mkhaliphi kuna two callers lapha ngidawuthanza vele ukuthi ubasite ke kulenhlangothi ukuthi ke basitakale etinkingeni tabo. Earlier on sibena anonymous ulapha ke ePine Town. Uthi ke inkampani yakhe beyi-based e-Eastern Cape yabasusa yabamikisa ePine Town eKwaZulu Natal. Manje ke ngathi tindva ngathi secala kuba munyu lapho ngoba uthi ukhuluma ngebullying, ukhuluma ngekuthi ke umphathi wakhe uyamgcilada. So yena ke wathatha leyo ndzaba leyo wayimikisa eDepartment of Labor. IDepartment of Labor yamtshela ukuthi no akabuyele ebargaining council. Kuthi vele is that the way to go nangabe sisebenzisa eDepartment of Labor bese ke they are referred to the bargaining council?
Kulengxaki yalosisi lomsebenzi iDepartment bemele imchazele into kokuba kule ndaba yokunto ba uphethwe kakubi uyavictimizwa uyabhulishwa bekumele ba bamchazele into kokuba makaye CCMA ayokwenza icase evictimization khona CCMA atsho khona ba uvictimizwa kanjani na iCCMA imamele lo case ukuba ngaba ingxaki yakhe yokuba akabhatalwa imali elungileyo inatsika ngumqashi wakhe okanye inatsika i-holidays zakhe akazifumani unako kuya ke ku-bargaining council. I-bargaining council kuba ine-agreement ekufuneka uba ibiyayinyanzelisa etshoyo ukuthi iimeko zokusebenza zithini na. Kodwa ke kwezi meko zokusebenza zohlukile zimbini njengoba sitsho le yokuba uphethwe kakubi uyacinezelwa uyavictimizwa yi-CCMA edilishana naloo ndaba funeke bekufuneke phaa kwiDepartment of Labor bem-advisele into yoba mabaye ngaloo nto kwi-CCMA kuba ukhalazwa ngendlela aphethwe ngayo into yoba bayamvictimiza akaphethwanga kakuhle akayanga kuba esithi ugxothiwe okanye kuba esithi akarholi xa ephangele uthi indlela aphethwe ngayo inye ke i-organization enako ukubabiza bobabini ihlale kucaci emveni bayichazile into yoba uvictimizwa kanjani na iCCMA imamele ke izame ukusombulula lo ngxaki nalo icebiso mna ebendizomnika lona ukuba ngaba ebedibene nami.
Okay, anonymous ePine Town sathemba ukuthi uvile ke imphendvulo lechazwe ke ngubaba Mkhaliphi from the Department of Labor. Siphinze saba na Steven ulapha ke eSebokeng. Mr Mkhaliphi, coming back to you. Uthi ke Steven beba umphathi wakhe bekasolo adonsa imali emholweni wakhe every month. So leyo manager leyo so uhambile. So nakathi uyoclaima ke lethu imali takhe uthola ukuthi kude imali lebedvele likhona lapha ukuthi angenda njani.
Le mali bidonswayo imali yantoni? Nansi ngakinda ubuna uchaza babe ichazile ba ubudonselwa imali bangabe bedonselwa imali kuba ebeboleke imali okanye bedonselwa imali kuba makayigcina ubangaba imali ye-provident fund okanye i-pension fund njengoba unatsika lo wesiseme echilo apho ukuthi ikhona inatsika i-ombudsman yenatsika ye-provident fund kodwa ke andiyazi into ba le mali itsalwayo bekuthiwa idonselwa imali yani
ukhulume
le
ukuthi imali ye-UIF but nakathi uyoclaima ke uthola ukuthi kude samali lebeyikhona lapha.
Unayo i-payslip ebonisayo ukuthi imali ibidonswa.
Usho njalo uthi amaphepha akhona ne-payslip konke kukhona lokusho kuvele and uyayibona ukuthi le UIF basolo bayidonsa lapha kule payslip.
Okumezekile ke ubangaba ke mayidonswa umqashi wakhe akasabonakali manje.
Uresignile akasekho. Lo manager beka under yena.
Hayi kaloku mos mawuphangela akunandaba ukuthi ubuphansi kophi manager. Mawuphangela lapha umthetho uthi inkampani uphangela kuyo imele bakudonsele imali ye-UIF. Ubangaba bidonswa akumele sekanga aye afuna ukuyothola imali ye-UIF kumuntu obephangela khona lapho. Uya kwinkampani ubangaba inkampani yi-Firestone igama lenkampani. Uya e-Firestone eyokuba umanager akakho okanye ukhona ayondaba leyo ebalulekile into ba unayo i-payslip ebephangela lapha ekudonswa le mali ayanga ku-UIF. Umnyango wezabasebenzi i-inspectors funeke zithathe le nkampani idonse imali ingayisi ku-UIF zise yona enkundleni. Ayikho indaba into ba hayi ngoku usupervisor wakhe akakho wabakho usupervisor kabikho ayiyondaba leyo ebalulekileyo into ba inkampani isekhona yona.
Ngoba phela nayo le mali beyidonswa yinkampani beyingadonswa ngi-supervisor uyayibona le mvo. Okay, Trevor, asasiphinde sibuye kuwe ke ukuthi like I'm sure you've been listening to the conversations of the grievances that our callers have been going through. Ukuthi ke have you had or have you come across such instances where you had to deal with these matters?
Thanks. Yes, we have got a lot of those, and actually they are happening across various sectors, especially where the private sector in particular, where workers have become more precarious than any. And this in addition of the points I was making earlier, that the creation of this kind of labor regime by this economic regime, it made and it emasculated this labor to the point that it is not able to fight for its rights, nor even to, because in the first place, you see, the worker had to go alone to the Department of Labor, and that shows or vindicates the position that most of them are actually ununionized. And because the first thing the worker would have done is to go to the union rep or the shop steward and lay the complaint. And that could have been done through the union structures. And unions are there to defend the rights of workers in that way. But this also demystifies the idea that employers are incorruptible, because in this case where one has been deducting UIF and has been reflecting on the payslip of the worker, but when the worker goes to try to claim the UIF, can't find and has actually never paid any cent to the Department of Labor.
Okay,
so that shows...
Mpumelelo, let's now talk about the recourse that are at the disposal of workers. Ukuthi ke nangabe tisebenzi tihlangana netinkinga letinjena ngizabe kuhlukumeteka emsebentini, unfair dismissals, ukuthi ke yini generally as a general overview, what is the recourse that is available to workers?
Okay, inkosi bathi umbuzo. Umuntu xa egxothiwe efumanisa into abawugxothwe ngendlela engafanelekanga, asithathe ngokugxothwa into as available kuye is once ame phambi kwe-commissioner abeke elakhe icala abe successful kwelakhe icala unocela i-commission into yoba commissioner ndigxothwe ngendlela engafanelekanga ndicela undibuyisele back emsebenzini ibe ngathi zange ndihambe in that leyo kuthiwa i-reinstatement or retrospective reinstatement. Esinye isicela nosicela sesokuba commissioner ndigxothwe ngendlela engafanelekanga unbelieve into yoba ndingakwazi uphinda ndisebenzisane nomqashi wam. So into bendicela bendicela into ekuthiwa yi-compensation, bendicela uhlawulo. Uhlawulo olo anolicela ngokusemthethweni is unocela umvuzo between 1 month and 12 months. Now, lo mvuzo lo xa nisithi umvuzo between 12 months, between 1 month and 12 months.
All right, Mpumelelo, unfortunately, we are out of time. We have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your thoughts and for your analysis. Now we get Trevor. We do appreciate your time. Kanye nawe Baba Mkhaliphi siyabonga kakhulu ukuhlanganyela nathi ke namhla. Hayi ke bekunene sesifike kanjalo ke maphethelweni ehlelo lethu namhla. Let me thank our guests for their time today. Ngithanza ibonga kanye nani ke babukele emakhaya ngekuba nathi kuze kube manje. Please do join my colleague Alicia Jali next Tuesday for yet another live consumer affairs discussion from Miss Mphiwe Ngongwane and the rest of the team. Sithi nitsale kahle. Do have a great week. Cheers.